Hi, my name is John Korstein, and I'm the Director of Museums for the City of Newport News. We're here at Endview Plantation. Endview Plantation was built in 1769 by Colonel William Harwood, Jr., a signer of the Virginia Resolves and a member of the Virginia General Assembly. He is a militia officer during the Revolutionary War. Endview is built in 1769. By the time of the Civil War, Endview will be owned by a man named Captain Humphrey Harwood Curtis. He is a descendant of William Harwood, and he acquires the house in 1858. He will remodel it, and it becomes his home. Curtis is one of two doctors in Warwick County at the outbreak of the Civil War. Accordingly, being one of the leading citizens, he will organize the local volunteers into a company known as the Warwick Beauregards. And here on the front yard of Endview, that unit will be mustered into service. Endview will become an important campground and hospital for the Confederate Army from 1861 through the beginning of the Peninsula Campaign. Because of its location right next to Lebanon Church, it is an extremely important campground, feeding troops to Major General John Bankhead Magruder's defenses along the Warwick River. When the Confederates retreat towards Williamsburg, the Federals will take over Endview and will use it as a hospital during the May 5th, 1862 Battle of Williamsburg. It will also be used as a temporary headquarters by Major General George Brinton McClellan, the Federal Army commander, and late in the afternoon during the Battle of Williamsburg. Endview has now been acquired by the Virginia War Museum and is being preserved and restored so they can serve as a living history museum studying Civil War themes. The 1864 Battle of Hatcher's Run, also known as the Battle of Burgess Mill, it is Grant's last effort in October of 1864 to try and break Lee's right flank. He is really trying to move his left, sliding out to split the Boyden Plank Road and also to sever the South Side Railroad. Two very important links that Lee must maintain. Accordingly, Grant will assign 43,000 men, 3 corps under the command of John Parke, also under the command of Winfield Scott Hancock and Gouverneur Worden. Grant had assigned Winfield Scott Hancock to take the lead in this advance, and he reaches by noon the Boyden Plank Road. Winfield Scott Hancock's corps is not supported adequately by Warren and Parke. Consequently, David Gregg and Winfield Scott Hancock are going to be exposed to a vicious attack sent by General Wilcox of the Confederate Army. This stops Hancock's advance. This will then enable Lieutenant General A.P. Hill to send Henry Heath and William Mahone's divisions to try to roll up the Federal flank, which they proved very successful in doing so. Wade Hampton is one of the heroes of this battle, but it is a lot of sadness. Wade Hampton loses one of his sons. The other one will be badly wounded in this battle, which sees over 2,000 Federal casualties. Grant's effort to try and break the South Side Railroad fails. The endless days of trench warfare will continue. Lee's army is becoming thinned as the trenches are spread further and further out from Petersburg to defend these important railroad links with Wilmington to Richmond. Okay?
Lock plate forward, you turn that lock plate in.
Take care of you in a minute. I just know.
In place. Rest. a picture of 1860s Petersburg. And it kind of looked like their heart.
When you have so much water, there's nothing for them to touch down and no place to go.
Cut it in Patriotsville, South Carolina, down in Charleston. It was the most decorated.
My name's Buddy Garrett. I'm with the Peninsula Artillery, 2nd Battalion under Colonel Breed. Today's battle is going to be part of the Battle of Petersburg. We'll be blasting the cannons for a regular while today. We should be making a lot of noise. Anytime we can do a battle, if it's on an original battlefield or not, it's more fun if it is an original battlefield. I know I've had bone-chilling experiences being on original battlefields a couple times. It just feels like I've been there before for some reason.
Maybe if our stomachs aren't too full. It is right. Hey. Forward. Eyes left. Back over front.
One this year and one next year, and then you get a horse.
I only get 3.
You went 3?
Mommy. Yeah. I'm gonna hold that, and Leah can see it.
You want Leah to see it?
Leah. I'm gonna let her see it.
You are?
That was your daddy.
You show Daddy
And Leah.
and Leah.
Is it okay if I take your picture?
Oh yeah, it's fine. It's a ham.
Do you like coming to the reenactments? What do you like about them?
I really like them.
Big one for Jeff Davis. Fire! All right, secure the piece.
Name's Buddy Garrett. I'm a lieutenant with the Peninsula Artillery. We're at Endview Plantation this weekend having a reenactment, our Christmas event as a rule. We'll be doing part of the Battle of Petersburg this weekend, which Confederates ended up kicking their butt, thank God. It's a lot of fun reenacting. If you've never tried it, you need to. It's an addiction. There's something about the smell of powder in the air, the feel of being on a battlefield. My first event, once I went to the first one, I was hooked. I wish I'd have been doing this for 20 years. every battlefield I go to is a new experience. Even if I've been there once before, it feels like it's a new experience. There's been places that I've been in Fredericksburg. I was at the cemetery up there, which is the national cemetery for the Union soldiers. During the war, it was Confederate cannon emplacements. Closing my eyes, I could actually smell the powder. Felt like I was there. It's hard to describe. It's an eerie feeling. After that, I had to get away from there. I just couldn't stay there much longer. But the camaraderie among the men, the people that you meet out here, everybody's just great. You're not going to find a better bunch of people, I don't believe. So you need to come out and see us. If you get an opportunity to experience, please do. You'll be hooked for life.
My name is Andy Bowles. I portray a character, Angus McPherson. Angus was my great-great-great-grandfather, fought with the 12th Virginia. This is my 20th year doing reenactments. Started with my Holmes Brigade back in 1979. It's one of the greatest experiences that you'll ever have. It's a part of history that people really don't understand. People have been given a lot of bad information on the reason why the Confederacy had been fighting this war. They say it's about slavery, but slavery was really not an issue. States' rights is the issue. Anytime that you spend your time and blood and tears growing your crops and have to ship them up north and have everything taxed, and then when it's turned into cloth, it costs you 3 times as much to get your product back. And one reason where I'm fighting is I was hired as a cannoneer. We were on a ship before I joined the artillery here, and I've always been a cannoneer. And it's a great life.
I know a lot of reenactors, even spectators, have had the experience of actually being there. I myself have seen or felt the presence of ghosts. Have you had any experience along those lines?
Yes, we've been visited quite a few times. At Sailor's Creek, we were sitting on a bridge at Sailor's Creek, and we had headlights come by, and in the middle of the field there were about 50 Union soldiers. When the car passed away and the headlights came from the other side, the field was clear, and there was no way that many men could have moved that quickly. We hear noises at night. We've also seen images in the woods, and you get a very cold feeling. The temperature can be 70, 80 degrees outside, and the temperature will drop down to the 20s and 30s. And it's not a bad feeling, being that we're wearing the uniforms and living the life. We just feel like that they think we're still here, and they come in and talk to us. But it's nothing ever really bad has ever happened to us. It's very, very, very interesting to have someone else feel the same feelings that you do. You know, you're not just making it up or not so much into what you're doing that you're thinking about it real hard, and you want it to happen. Even here at Endview, we have a grave site down here at the back side, and sometimes at night you can walk through the graves and you can feel the presences there. I'll tell you a little story about a building here in Bentonville, North Carolina. At one of our reenactments there, we went to visit the house that was a field hospital. Thousands of Confederates and Union soldiers were butchered by the surgeons. A lot of them died there. We had the experience to see a lantern in the upper room. The doors were locked. One of the ladies that was with us tried the door, it opened, and as soon as she opened the door, the lantern went out. When she closed the door, we watched the lantern move from room to room. We tried the door again, and the door was locked. When we walked away, the lantern had gone out. We heard footsteps coming down the stairwell. We heard the back door open, And when we went around to the back door, we saw the door close, and no one was there to open or close the door. So the spirits still move, and we were told that they died so horribly and so quickly that they never really got a chance to make peace, and their spirits still roam today. And it's very interesting to see these things, and if the people that see these videos, if you guys can come out and experience the feeling that we feel, you'll get hooked. It's one of the worst drugs there is. And it's just a wonderful thing. It's very family oriented, and you feel like you have 200 or 300 brothers and sisters. So it's a real great experience, and if you can find the time to come out and see us, you'll enjoy it immensely. And I appreciate your time.
It was so cool for him to know where people were. Oh God.
Getting serious.
Oh yeah.
Don't get into it, Perry. It's too much. Just leave it be. Let's come.
It's getting too big.
I'm trying to beat
Yeah.
Oh, we knew there was no fire. Why did he shoot?
Oh, good. Well, thanks. I got the hair.
Was it a musket?
I am. Mary Jane's gotten worse. Turning gray too. He says I made him turn gray. So. Big turn. He was 24 with that. I was got married all these different
Many of the Unionists were treated very badly by their secessionist neighbors. Just like the Revolution, we had some people who supported the king, whereas most of the people in the state supported the colonist point of view. But some of in the western part of the state in particular, Union sympathizers were harassed, their homes were burned, and on one occasion a group were surrounded by secessionists and were executed because they treated them as traitors to their home state. That was in the western part. And in the eastern part around Kinston, several Unionists were hanged as traitors on the courthouse square, I think about 18 or 19, because their fellow neighbors thought of them as traitors to their home state.
I noticed that during today's battle, the Federalists were far outnumbered by the Confederates. Is it hard to find Union sympathizer reenactors?
In the South, it gets hard. We do mainly Confederate, but at the smaller battles, we do Federal, just to help, just for the numbers.
It's kind of like during the war, we have reenactors who are definitely against even portraying a Union federal soldier, and so they will not change uniform, or as in reenactment is called galvanizing. They do not like to galvanize, play the part of the enemy. And so for that reason, I think, and others, federal troops are usually in short supply.
I'm wearing original New York Excelsior buttons issued to the U.S. Volunteers on a great coat.
Is it hard to find the original items from the war?
It's getting a lot harder. There's still dealers around. There are a lot of dealers on the internet that you can go to, but they get higher every year in price because of the scarcity. Federal buttons are easy to find, a lot of them. Confederate buttons are very hard, very rare to find. And so the Confederate buttons cost a lot more than Union buttons cost.
How can you tell if it's authentic?
Well, I've got a book that'll show the buttons and show the back marks on them. On the buttons they got the makers like Waterbury, Schofield makers. A lot of the Confederate buttons were local made, and so they wouldn't have a back mark. North Carolina, the North Carolina buttons I've got were local made in North Carolina, and they don't have a back mark, but by the back mark, and just by the way they're made.
And a lot of them were Doug buttons, but they're hard to find now because you can't get on original battlefields and all of that. So every farmer's gotten land, and they won't let people metal detect them. So they're getting very hard to find. So the prices are going up on them, especially Confederate buttons.
How much would it cost to buy a button today? Do you know, approximately?
They're Confederate buttons. They're Confederate buttons. The Goldsboro rifle button from North Carolina. I think it's $800 to $1,000 in price. The state seals, North Carolina state seals that I've got, are Doug, and they range from $85 to $125. The Starburst that I've got ranges probably, the one I bought cost $85, and the back shank is missing from the Starburst. Most North Carolina Starburst buttons, the back shank fell off of them, and especially your Doug buttons, the shanks are gone on them. If you find one with the shank, that'll jack the price up a couple more $100.
With these, there are so many of them, the prices are way down. You probably get them for $10 for the big one and $5 for the little one.
It's me. It's Living History Cam. .net. What type of stories do you tell around the campfires?
Oh, you name it. Sea stories.
Sea
stories.
Are these the Marines?
No, we're all ex-Navy men. That's why.
All of us were sailors. Active.
Oh.
Our Navy, we're not in the Navy. Our Navy, we're not dogs. We're scallywags.
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 Some of us talk about some of the other periods we do too.
Yeah, like I do Mexican War and
I do World War II as well.
Revolutionary War.
And why do you enjoy reenacting?
Lots of fun.
What's the most special thing about it?
We teach the people what it was really like, you know, to let them show the hardships that our ancestors and people that came before us went
So
through.
we can appreciate what people did before us.
And you get to play with guns.
Yeah, you get to play with guns.
Yeah, we get to shoot at people. It's great. It's a great stress reliever.
You also get to escape the 20th century. For
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
That's right. No televisions, no radios, no internet.
Yeah.
Nothing.
None of that.
I've heard
Beautiful out
people.
here tonight.
Now, even if we
You
do
got a
World
crystal
War
clear
II,
sky.
you get.
I'll tune me fiddle and I'll rouse me bow, and I'll be welcome wherever I go. Tooraloo, 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 tooraloo. I'll tune me fiddle and I'll rouse me bow, and I'll be welcome wherever I go. Well, let the doctors come with all their art, no impression to make upon my heart. Even the cripple forgets his hunch when he's stuck outside of a general punch. Tooraloo-raloo, 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 tooraloo-raloo. Even the cripple forgets his hunch when he's stuck outside of a general punch. He came over the hill, down by the river Clady. He whistled and he sang till the green woods rang, and he won the heart of the lady. Ah-day-do, ah-dee-do, da-day. Ah-day-do, ah-dee-day. He whistled and he sang till the green woods rang, and he won the heart of the lady. She left her father's castle gate,
She left her own fond lover. She left the servants at the gate to follow the gypsy rover.
There was a frog lived in the well.
Hi-ho, said Brody, there was a frog lived in the well, and the merry mouse in the well, with a roly-poly cabbages, spinach, and knife around the roly.
Is that the one you kiss and make him
Said the frog, I must go court.
Hi-ho, said Brody, said the frog, I must go court.
He grabbed his hat and a sword,
and a roly-poly cabbages, spinach, and knife around the roly.
I bet you can't say that.
Little Miss Mouse was having her tea. Hi-ho, said Rhodey. Little Miss Mouse was having her tea.
Frog said, will you marry me? Will it roly-poly, cabbage and spinach and knife around the roly? Where will the wedding be? Hi-ho, said Rhodey. Where will the wedding be?
Down by the pub by the ivy tree with
The roly-poly, cabbage and spinach and knife around the roly.
Now we're all in very good cheer.
Hi-ho, said Rhodey. Now we're all in very good cheer. If we had some music here with the roly-poly, cabbage and spinach and knife around the roly.
I mean, you can do better than that.
In came the bumblebee. Hi-ho, said Roly. In came the bumblebee. A bagpipe stepped on his knee with a roly-poly.
Let us now go even unto Bethlehem and see this thing which is come to pass, which the Lord hath made known to us. And they came with haste and found Mary and Joseph and the babe lying in the manger. And when they had seen it, they made known abroad the saying which was told to them concerning this child. And all they that heard it wondered at those things which were told them by the shepherds. Can you imagine a king being born in a stable? I just helped my son build a stable, and I'll tell you what, well, it looks good when you first get it built, but when that horse gets in there and that manure starts piling up, well, it ain't a very nice place. It ain't, it's downright humbling. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. It's downright humbling. And to think that this king, yet this was not a king in the same sense that Caesar Augustus was thinking of kings, or as Herod or any of these others were thinking of kings. He was not there to tax people and get their monies and their riches so that he might build up an ever stronger empire with an army that could conquer and stretch out throughout the world. No. He was going to build a different kind of army. He was not going to build one of the flesh, but one of the soul, one of the spirit, one that would last forever and could not be conquered. Ancestors there. They came over from England.
Yes, I'm Harold Lawson with 8th Virginia Company A. I'm the commander with Longstreet's Corps. And the 8th Virginia was with Longstreet's Corps here at Hatcher's Run. And we was one of the ingredients in the battle, Hatcher's Run. It actually was a draw between the Confederate and the Union, which took place in 1864, toward the end of the war, in the last days of the toward the last days of the battle. And it was just like the Federals were raiding. Scouts had run up onto the Confederates, and it was really an unexpected battle or unplanned battle.
Exactly. My name's Earl Salisbury. I'm the corporal, 8th Virginia Infantry, and the battle was one of the battles, like so many that happened during the war, where a part of the army of the Union would stumble into the Confederates as this one happened, and you know, it's just one thing led to another until an all-out fight broke out. But you know, both sides, realizing they weren't gaining really any ground, decided it was better, instead of a full engagement, to get out of it, and that's basically how it ended.
Right, they just withdraw. So it actually was a draw. There wasn't nobody really coming out as a winner.
How long have you been reenacting? What brings you here?
Well, I've been reenacting for about 10 years, and actually my ancestors come into Jamestown 1650 or 1649, and actually they migrated through this area, and probably some descendants still lives here, relatives of some of the descendants. But I had ancestors that actually fought for the Confederacy during the Civil War, and they like 4 brothers with the 4th Virginia Artillery that was reconstructed into the 34th, and I had an ancestor that fought with the 38th Virginia, and he was a color bearer, and he was shot and killed at Gettysburg and died on the field there at Gettysburg carrying the colors for the 38th. And just, you know, the reason why I do it, I just want to come out and try to make them proud, or try to relive what they went through, and just get a feeling of what they had to suffer, and try to really understand why they fought. And you hear a lot of people say, you know, for slavery, but it actually wasn't for slavery, because none of my ancestors owned slaves. They was fighting for their rights and their homeland, you know, because they was being invaded and overrun, you know, and the women and the children back home was being just taking everything they had. So, you know, and that's the way it is today. If somebody threatens your home, you're going to defend it. So that's what my ancestors was fighting for. So, you know, and I don't believe in slavery, and I thought it was a bad thing, but, you know, at the time it's a way of life, and you know, so, you know, and that was really a big mistake that the South had. You know, they always regretted that what they should have done at the beginning of the war was freed all the blacks, and then the Federals wouldn't have a, you know, couldn't use that as a leverage for getting the North to fight.
I think for myself, I got into it primarily because I had relatives, again, just like the captain had, that fought during the war. Actually, mine fought both sides of the war, and but the real reason I do it is because I've studied the history, and I wanted to come out to basically keep that history alive for the next generation, and also to help preserve what, you know, these people fought and died for. And that's really why I do it.
I'm Wendy King. I portray Corporal Craig Anderson of the 32nd Virginia. Being a woman in uniform, it's been an interest of mine for several years. Therefore, I chose to write a book about it, trying to document women who served as soldiers. The name of the book is Clad in Uniform, Women Soldiers of the Civil War. And it documents about 20 women who served as soldiers on both sides during the Civil War. Originally, there's an estimation from the 1800s that there were about 400 women that served on both sides. But when you get into studying it, you find that there were so many more than only 400. There were about 500 to 1,000. It's the latest guesstimate. So that was my reason for writing the book, and the reason for continuing my research and hopefully to put together another book.
What is the experience that you have had being a female reenactor? Has it been different?
Being a female reenactor, I've had experiences both good and bad. Fortunately, for the most part, good. I've had some experiences where people didn't want me on the field because of my gender, and I've also had the experiences where people didn't know what my gender was and accepted me for being a soldier before they found out I was a female. Ergo, since they just knew me as a soldier beforehand, I was always just a soldier. That's the reason that's the way I got in with the 32nd. At first, their officers didn't know what I was. They weren't sure if I was male or female, and they accepted me as a soldier. So the rest of the company followed suit, and after a while, it didn't matter to them if it was a female. All they see me as a soldier.
Do you know a little bit about the history of the battle that was portrayed yesterday, or the one that will be portrayed today?
Not really.
What is the name of your book again?
Clad in Uniform, Women Soldiers of the Civil War. It's put out by Collingswood, put out by CW Historicals, Collingswood, New Jersey.
When I spoke with you and Guy and Dot, you spoke a little bit about how women were able to pass for a soldier. What are some of the things that they went through, and some of the motivations to serve?
Some of the motivations for women to serve could have been love of their husbands, didn't want to leave their husbands, or boyfriends, true patriotic feelings for what they believed in. Some of them, their parents thought, their people thought that they were crazy if they ever found out what happened. Joining the army as a female then was completely taboo. You know, if you were found out, you were dismissed. Some of the ways they got around being discovered was to wear binders, to cover the chest area. They cut their hair short, took a man's name, and a young female, or even a middle-aged female at the time, would have been taken for a young boy. I do the same things. I wear a binder, I cut my hair. I look a little older than a young boy, but they still accept me in the ranks. There were women who took it to the extremes that one tried to commit suicide when she was discovered in the ranks, pulled from the ranks by Mary Livermore. She was discovered by Mary Livermore in the Sanitary Commission. The captain sort of suspected that it might be a female, but he needed another female to confirm it. She was pulled from the ranks, and when she was interviewed by Mary Livermore, said that she only had her husband in the whole world, and if she couldn't be with him, she'd rather be dead. She tried suicide. And then she went off, she found out the regiment had moved on, and she went off to try to re-enlist with that same regiment.
We're stationed here at the fort, and the Federals will be trying to attack us, thinking that they can take us. And when they find out we have larger numbers, they start to pull back. And they do get a good bunch of us down by the time they get run out.
How long have you been reenacting, and could you tell me a little bit about the experience of being a living historian, of returning to the past, to the battle? What pieces of history do you come away with? How does it feel to do this?
I've been reenacting for 7 years, and it's definitely something unique. It's a experience. It's hard to explain. It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of hard work, and you constantly learn history. I've had people ask me, well, how long did it take you to learn this? And I am still learning. I learn a little something new at every event from all the different people that you meet. And it's the type of thing that I wish a lot more people could come out dressed just to share a weekend with us, because you learn things that are not covered in a history book.
It seems to me that the whole process of reenacting has gathered a lot more participants. What do you see as the future of reenactments?
I think it could go a long way. I really do. But again, a lot of it's up to the individuals. You have a lot of people interested. People say they will, but they don't. But if you could get them to come out and experience this with you firsthand, you could probably pick up a lot more people.
Now, I know they were considering turning a portion of Endview into a shopping mall. How do you feel about the preservation of battlefields?
I think it's great. I really do. It's part of our history you can't change. And if we take every piece of history property from the Revolutionary time to the present away from us, what's our future generations going to know about our past? How can they go out and see these living histories and reenactments to learn what their ancestors did? And it is, I hope that they can preserve most of Endview. And for the city, it's a long-term investment, but one that could benefit them greatly.
Did you have any relatives in the Civil War?
Well, I'm from Canada. I really don't know if I have any, but I do portray a Canadian that was in this particular unit during the Civil War.
Could you talk a little bit about him, his name?
His name was Peter Bregan, and he was a 32-year-old Canadian lawyer. and evidently he believed in the South's cause, and he came down and joined the Warwick Beauregards to fight in the Civil War. He was in my particular company for 2 years, I think, until the general staff found out he was a lawyer. Then he was put on the general staff, and I haven't been able to get much more information on him at that point.
The Warwick Beauregards originated here. A group of reenactors began the Warwick Beauregards and then found out later that the actual Beauregard Regiment began here. Do you know a little bit about the history of the Warwick Beauregards?
I know they were formed. We had a gentleman that knew the man that owned this property and was privately, so we could use it, and come to find out the captain of our unit actually lived in this plantation. And it was kind of nice to come on land of the unit that we actually represent. His father was in the unit. He's buried in the family cemetery here on the property. Company lieutenant is buried across the street in the churchyard. So it's a special meaning for us. Not too many reenactment units can say, come out and play on land of the people we portray. It was really a nice experience.
This seems unique in view with the cabins that have been built here. How is this field different from maybe some of the other ones where you've reenacted?
There again, this is home. We know our ancestors came from here, or the Warwick Beauregards came from this area, and it's just a feeling it's hard to explain. We have a unique place here. We have 2 or 3 other units that come in that want to call this home with us now too, that help us out, because it has brought more reenactors together, local groups. Federal Yankees call this home base now with us. The 1st Texas calls it home base with us, and we had a group come down last year from the 26th Virginia, asked if they could build a cabin because they love it here so much. And we said, sure.
Do you have any words of encouragement or messages for other reenactors? Anything that you would like to add?
Hopefully everybody will keep up the good work and try to portray this as accurate as you can, so the public can really learn this history.
I've heard a lot of reenactors say that the events that happened on the actual battlefields, you can still feel a bit of the presence of the past here. When you go into battle today, are you able to feel the past when you're doing this?
Some of our men do. Some of them I don't. I think a lot of younger boys don't realize yet, but a lot of us do after a lot of the battles that we have been in, especially the major ones. It's an eerie feeling knowing that you're marching out there portraying this battle that actually took place, and even though you take fake hits and go down and either get wounded or die, these men actually did. So it is a strange type of feeling, but it's a good feeling. And hoping that you're doing good of educating the public by what we're doing.
I hear a lot of people say they feel that they're honoring their ancestors and those who fought and those who died. Some critics of reenactors say that, oh, why don't you get over the war? Do you have any messages for those people who are just against reenactment for some reason?
I think that they should come out, if they haven't been to a reenactment, and come out and talk to some of the reenactors, come out and see what we do, and see how different it is compared to the history books. And they hopefully might walk away with a different feeling. We're not trying to raise the South again, as everybody says, but to be aware of our history. It's proud of that history. The African Americans are proud of their history. We're proud of our history, and we want to present our history. We should be able to present our history, as long as, even with the rest of the world, like the Chinese, preserve their history and their ancient traditions. And it's a beautiful country to see. We should be able to preserve what we have here in the States. And a lot of countries look at our battles, and believe it or not, they're into our reenactments bigger than what we are here in the States. And that's unbelievable. We can't picture Japanese doing blue and gray and talking Japanese, I'm sorry, but they do. And England and Germany is another one. When you go to England, one of the fellas got to go for 2 weeks, and he said that everybody that signs up over there has to do federal for 2 years. They cannot do gray, because everybody wants to do gray. So England says you have to do federal 2 years before you can actually wear gray. That's how serious they take our Civil War. So the history needs to be preserved.
I broke it 2 years ago, and I got muscle damage right down here. Split, I guess he said it would calm.
That's a company.
That's
We're about doubling.
Doubling.
Right.
Right.
Face.
One.
Counter march. Buff files left.
Left.
March.
Absolutely. Ronnie, fit him in there.
What do you use? I'm a 3. What am I, 1? You got it.
That's the company. That's to the rear and open order.
To the rear and open order.
What's the law, Inspector?
This is the 855 squad.
You gotta get the book, Johnny.
Company.
Halt. Front. Inspection.
Inspection.
Arm.
Prepare to open ranks. Prepare to open ranks.
To the rear and open order.
To the rear and open order.
Lock.
After you have 5, you should get through the procedure. Inspection. Inspection. Oh. Do the same way you did yesterday. Spare me some work.
What y'all doing? Daddy. What y'all doing?
Get my better side.
You're right. Hey, there's Debbie and Pawpaw coming through the woods.
Yes!
That's on number 1.
I'd like to hear the rest of their story about Hollywood and the North being very bad.
I'll re-roll.
Okay, yeah. If the rug ends wear down, you go get a fix. There's a new shop getting these leather shops. Going in there and broken Well, you made it your own time.
Yeah, well, I know, but not too good for you.
That's all right, I'm fine.
Way back.
I ain't got it in my Hey, Devin, you and Dan might want to go walk ahead over there and see where the spectators are along that rail fence to the right. Y'all might want to head on over there.
Did ladies fought in this?
No. They help support them.
Wait till everybody else is being done.
Those guys took
Put that stick down.
Fire! Bring him up! Let's go! Let's go! Go, 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 go! Hold me up!
poke your eye out. What is it?
Oh, cool, Dad, look. Oh, man, the dog just couldn't still coming in.